My wife, Victoria Ashton, would often complain to me about her recently graduated male assistant. He's supposedly an Ivy League grad, but he can't even make a decent PowerPoint. And his fashion sense is atrocious plaid shirt with a windbreaker? It's terrible for the company image. But when the assistant's fiancé publicly called her a homewrecker and slapped her, this spoiled, headstrong heiress actually chose to forgive her, just because of something the assistant said. I was just heading into the conference room to start a meeting. Victoria's assistant, Sarah Jenkins, called me. "Mr. Clark, Junior CEO Ashton has been hit. Please come quickly." Victoria hit. No time to think. Didn't even wait for the driver. I immediately ran to the garage, got in my car, and raced towards Victoria's company. Luckily, her office wasn't far. I floored the Rolls-Royce and got there in just a few minutes. While waiting for the elevator, I called the police. When I reached Victoria's office, the scene was chaotic. One side of Victoria's face was red and slightly swollen, clearly from being hit. She was furiously shouting insults. Across from her, held back by two assistants, was a tearful and agitated young woman, Chloe Miller, who wasn't backing down, trading insults with Victoria. "You are a homewrecker using your money to interfere in other people's relationships. Have you no shame? And you call yourself a socialite? Don't you know we're engaged and you still mess with us?" Victoria surged forward, raising her hand to strike. I rushed forward, calling her name. Victoria, it was as if she didn't hear me. She struggled against the assistants. "Me, a homewrecker? Take a good look at yourself. Look at those cheap clothes you're wearing. Are you even worthy of being my rival?" The assistants looked at me pleadingly. I stepped forward and pulled her arm. "Vicky, calm down." But Victoria shook off my hand. "Get lost, all of you. Don't anyone try to stop me." My hand was left awkwardly hanging in the air. "How dare you come here and cause a scene? If I don't beat you senseless today, my name isn't Ashton." Seeing Victoria becoming increasingly enraged, I had to step in again. Just then, a tall young man rushed over Ethan Vance. He grabbed Victoria, holding her back. "Victoria, stop this, please, I'm begging you, okay?" Surprisingly, it worked. Victoria actually stopped struggling. She pointed furiously at the man, begging me, "Isn't this all because of you?" Her tone was harsh, but beneath the resentment and impatience, I detected a faint trace of indulgence. Few people could make Victoria stand down after such humiliation. I immediately asked Sarah Jenkins beside me, "Who is that?" "Oh, he's also Junior CEO Ashton's assistant. His name is Ethan Vance." So it was him. I remembered this Ethan Vance. Victoria used to complain about him occasionally. Supposedly an Ivy League grad, but he can't even make a decent PowerPoint. And his fashion sense is atrocious plaid shirt with a windbreaker, suits with sneakers. Wearing stuff like that to work every day, it's terrible for the company image. I'd told her back then just to fire any unsuitable employee. Victoria was starting her own brand. A poorly presented assistant was indeed a problem. Based on her description, someone clumsy and badly dressed wouldn't last long. Later, she stopped mentioning Ethan, and I hadn't asked. I never expected the employee she'd despised so much to still be here, looking quite presentable. And he wasn't wearing plaid and a windbreaker. Instead, he wore a Keaton suit. The suit, clearly costing thousands of dollars, made him look quite sharp and stylish. I hadn't realized Ethan Vance was actually quite handsome. I noticed he didn't call Victoria Junior CEO Ashton like the others, but used her first name directly. Victoria finally noticed me. A flicker of panic crossed her face. "Sincere, what are you doing here? I heard you were attacked." "Of course, I had to come see. I'm fine, really, I can handle this." Just then, two police officers walked in. Victoria immediately became defensive again, shouting, "Who called the police? Who took it upon themselves to call them without my permission?" The assistants flinched like quail. I answered calmly, "I did." She scoffed. "Victoria Ashton doesn't need the police to fight her battles. How embarrassing this woman came here and assaulted you. We can request she be detained, possibly even face criminal charges." I think that would teach her a better lesson than just shouting matches. Hearing this, Victoria couldn't really object. At my insistence, we all went to the police station. When the police confirmed that refusing mediation could lead to detention, Victoria's eyes lit up, and she immediately chose not to mediate. Now Chloe Miller started to panic. She broke down crying. She buys my fiancé suits worth thousands. They've hugged. Do you think they're innocent? I just wanted to talk to her calmly, but she immediately called me poor and ugly. How can someone bully people like that? That's no excuse for assault, one of the officers pointed out. I looked directly into Victoria's eyes. When had they hugged? Victoria stiffened slightly, lowering her gaze and avoiding mine. Ethan Vance walked over to Victoria, bending slightly, his eyes red-rimmed as he pleaded, "Could you choose to forgive her? Please don't let her be detained. It's all because of me, my fault. Hit me, yell at me, whatever you want. Just don't press charges against her, okay?" Victoria glanced at me, then at Ethan, her eyes flickering with indecision. I stood up to leave. Victoria quickly stood up, grabbed my hand. "Honey, buying him clothes meant nothing. I just wanted my employee to look presentable. It's important for the brand. I was just thinking of the company. And don't listen to her nonsense about hugging. It was just a game during a team-building event," she explained hurriedly. Ethan followed, constantly calling Victoria's name, "Victoria, Victoria. Can you forgive her?" "Is that so?" I asked softly. Was their relationship really that simple? Before Victoria could reply, Ethan tugged at her sleeve again. "Victoria, have some sense. My husband is here. Do I have time for you?" Victoria snapped, turning on Ethan. "Why beg me? Should I just let myself be slapped for nothing? Am I supposed to take it? I'm talking to my husband. Can you stop following me around?" She yelled at Ethan, loud enough for everyone to stare. Ethan froze, his eyes slightly red. He turned his face away, head bowed, looking utterly dejected in profile. Unnoticed by others, Victoria's grip on my hand tightened. I watched them coldly, emotions churning inside me. Just then, my phone rang. An important client was about to arrive. It was a major deal. I couldn't afford to miss the reception. "Honey, you should go attend to your business," Victoria said immediately, sounding considerate, strangely a little cheerful. "It's fine. I'll handle this." Fine. She was the one who got hit. No matter how worried or upset I was for her, she just wanted to do things her way. Let her. As for Ethan Vance, I called a friend, Daniel Hayes. I asked him to find everything on Ethan, including that photo of the hug. By the time I finished work and got home, it was quite late. Surprisingly, Victoria was home. She'd had Mrs. Gable prepare a spread: bird's nest soup, wild-caught sea bass, truffle steamed eggs, seafood salad, and more laid out on the table. Victoria ran over to take my coat, acting very attentive. Having grown up together since childhood, I knew Victoria's tells. I just needed to wait for her to bring it up. "Honey, after you left, I decided to reconcile. This wasn't unexpected. My intention hadn't necessarily been to have Chloe detained, but she needed to understand there were consequences for assault." I glanced at her. "Well, it's bad for the brand to have a big scandal. So, I listened to the nice officers and chose to reconcile. Of course, I didn't let her off easy. That shrew slapped herself and knelt before me before I agreed. I was slightly taken aback. What? That's how you resolved it? The woman agreed to that? Of course. That shrew is also just some top student from a small town. If she'd really been detained, her life would be practically ruined. She was truly scared. I hadn't expected her to choose such a method. Making someone kneel to you? Aren't you afraid of it being filmed and hurting the company? That's too extreme, I said, displeased. Ultimately, it still comes down to that Ethan Vance. Victoria immediately cut me off. It has nothing to do with Ethan. He didn't even know that Shrew was coming to cause trouble. She glanced at me again. And of course, I didn't reconcile because of Ethan. It's mainly because I want to make the company successful. So Dad won't always think I'm useless, always comparing me to Felicity and Penelope, saying they're the competent ones, and I just got lucky marrying well. She picked up some conch with her chopsticks and put it on my plate. Honey, try this conch. It's delicious. Then she started talking about the other dishes on the table. It was obvious she was forcing a change of subject, but I suppressed my emotions. Since we married, Victoria had wanted to build her own career, to shed the good-for-nothing heiress label. I supported her. Though she could be imperious and willful, she had always been clingy and listened to me since childhood. When we got married, besides being called a merger of influential families, we were hailed as the golden couple. I had always been tolerant and patient with her. Victoria often said that with me around, she felt like she could always be a princess. Was it worth letting these minor issues affect our relationship? Later, while I was in the study, my friend Daniel sent over the information on Ethan Vance, along with the photo I'd requested. In the photo, Victoria had buried her face in Ethan's chest, her arms wrapped around his waist. The visible half of her face wore a sweet, shy expression. The background was an outdoor street corner, not a team-building game as she claimed. Anyone seeing it would assume they were a couple deeply in love. Daniel also sent a message, "Big C, keep an eye on him." A chill ran down my spine, as if I'd plunged into icy water. I had always been confident in Victoria's feelings for me. We grew up together. Our personalities complemented each other. She had pursued me after she came of age. I thought our bond was unbreakable. Just then, Victoria's phone, left outside, pinged. She had gone into the bathroom to shower. I couldn't resist picking it up. A message from someone saved as Sheehan. I told her we're calling off the engagement. No doubt it was from Ethan Vance. I couldn't tolerate this. When Victoria came out, I asked her, "That's Ethan Vance, right? Why is he telling you he called off his engagement?" Victoria took the phone, glanced at it. Her eyes were unreadable, but the corners of her mouth turned up slightly. She replied nonchalantly, "How should I know why he's telling me? Texting me this late at night. He must be crazy." Despite saying this, when the screen lit up again a few times later, Victoria couldn't help but take the phone into the bedroom. It seemed Victoria was happy about Ethan breaking off his engagement. That night, we slept with our backs to each other. I heard Victoria tossing and turning, the light from her phone screen flickering on and off. After that, a barrier seemed to form between Victoria and me. The intimacy we shared vanished noticeably. I decided to go to Victoria's company, for no other reason than to try and salvage our relationship. I immediately spotted Ethan Vance. He was sitting in a central chair, bossily assigning tasks to other assistants who stood around him respectfully. He looked nothing like the incompetent newcomer Victoria had described. Anyone would think he was the boss. "Mr. Clark?" Ethan saw me and quickly stood up. "Victoria is in a meeting. It should end soon." He hurried to offer me a seat and brought hot tea. But just as he placed it on the table, it spilled. Luckily, I reacted quickly and dodged most of it, but my pant legs still got wet. "Mr. Clark, I didn't mean to..." I waved him off. "I've seen your job description. Hosting clients is part of it. Is this how you handle it? Haven't you had any business etiquette training?" Also, Assistant Vance, I used his formal title. "May I ask your salary?" Around $2,100 a month." "Okay. And how does that salary cover the Brioni shirt you're wearing today, or the Keaton suit from the other day?" "Both authentic. As far as I know, Junior CEO Ashton doesn't provide a clothing allowance for assistants. And Assistant Vance, you're from a modest background, a top student from a small town, correct? Furthermore, why does every other employee call her Junior CEO Ashton, while you alone use her first name?" Ethan flushed. "It was Ms. Ashton who said I could just call her by her name. I just smiled without saying anything." Victoria walked over. Seeing Ethan standing awkwardly before me, her eyes held a questioning look. I pointed to the spilled tea on the table and my wet pant leg. "How clumsy can you be? You can't even pour tea properly, get out." Victoria scolded Ethan. Ethan quickly left, his face red. "Honey, why did you come here? Victoria asked after closing the door, leaving just the two of us. Let's talk about Ethan Vance. Hearing I'd come because of Ethan, Victoria crossed her arms, leaning back against a chair. Her gaze seemed hostile. I remember you used to say Ethan was mediocre, that you were planning to have HR let him go. How is it that now you're buying him suits worth thousands, while other employees don't get this treatment? Can we discuss the reason? Victoria stared blankly for a moment, before speaking slowly. Since Ethan got into a top university, he clearly has ability. He just lacked opportunity. Do you have any idea how much hardship he endured coming from a small-town background? I was initially going to fire him, but he came to me, promised to work his hardest if I just gave him a chance. At networking events, he even jumped in front of me to drink on my behalf, ending up in the hospital once. You rarely find employees like that. He made me feel that relationships shouldn't just be about calculating gains and losses. Yes, I bought him those clothes. Clothes make the man, and I felt it was necessary for the brand and the company image. And I feel somewhat responsible for his broken engagement. I understood. Simple. Ethan, playing the role of the naive recent graduate, using timely displays of vulnerability and dedication, had completely won Victoria's admiration. When she talked about relationships being purely transactional, was she implying that's how she saw ours too? He's interested in you, isn't he? I assume you're not blind to it. You're a married woman, Victoria. Whatever his reasons for breaking the engagement, you can't claim it was because of you. If I had a female assistant receiving the same treatment Ethan gets, how would you feel, Vicky? I said it bluntly. We looked straight at each other. We'd never been so confrontational. I didn't back down. There's no place for someone like him in our relationship. That's my position. A long silence passed. I'll be mindful of boundaries, she finally said. There's really nothing going on between us. Truly. Victoria said this, but lacked conviction. I shook my head firmly. Ethan Vance has to go. No, she shouted. My heart sank. It felt like something important was lost. Disappointed, I could only say, you weren't like this before. Victoria turned her face away. After a long pause, she murmured, I understand. Ethan Vance resigned from Victoria's company. I offered to arrange a position for him at a reputable company, but Victoria flatly refused. I learned she had found another place for him herself. More importantly, a huge rift seemed to have opened between Victoria and me. Despite my efforts to show care, we couldn't return to how things were. This left a bitter taste. Had our years together cracked so easily? At dinner, Victoria, who used to chatter non-stop, just ate while fiddling with her phone. Suddenly, she slammed her phone face down on the table. Why are women so shameless these days? Throwing themselves at any handsome guy they see. I looked up at her. I knew she was talking about Ethan, as if by silent agreement we hadn't mentioned him recently. But I was fully aware of Ethan's current situation, thanks to Daniel Hayes. He had caused so much trouble around Victoria in such a short time, I couldn't afford to be careless again. Victoria had placed him in Daniel's company. Daniel had even called me, asking who this Ethan Vance was that Victoria valued so highly. Later, he reported that several women at the company had shown interest in Ethan, keeping me updated on every detail. As we were getting ready for bed, Victoria suddenly received a call. Seeing the caller ID, she turned and took the phone out onto the balcony. But I could still hear her anxious voice. Where are you? Tell me. Quickly, then she grabbed her coat and rushed out. I have something to take care of. Don't wait up, Victoria. It's so late. I checked my watch. It was already past 11 p.m. Unable to shake my unease, I followed her. Eventually, I found Ethan Vance on a roadside. He looked like he'd had a lot to drink, his expression pained, hair falling over his brow, appearing helpless and lonely. Victoria ran towards him. As soon as Ethan saw her, he pulled her into his arms, burying his head in her neck, mumbling, I shouldn't have called you, I'm sorry. But they kept forcing me to drink. They're all powerful women, bosses. I couldn't afford to offend any of them. Victoria's face was filled with pity as she struggled to support him. How could I endure this? I got out of the car and walked towards them. Victoria, let go of him, they both saw me. Victoria's eyes showed guilt and panic, but also, undeniably, impatience. Is he drunk? Ethan quickly pushed Victoria away. Mr. Clark, I'm sorry, I just didn't know what to do. I only want to work hard, but they treated me like that. It's all my fault. Miss Ashton, you should go back. He pushed Victoria towards me, but Victoria grabbed his hand back. You don't need to apologize to him. Then she turned to me, furious. This is your doing, isn't it? I told you there was nothing between Ethan and me. I made him leave. Why did you arrange for those people to harass him? He just wants a job. I froze. What did I do? You know perfectly well what you did. Don't think I don't know. Your friends all listen to you, don't they? So you instructed them to mess with Ethan. He was harassed by women. His first day there, and now he's being dragged out to entertain female bosses. My own wife's accusation sent a chill through me. She knew my character. Why would I stoop to this? Why was there not even this basic trust? Ethan's job was assistant. Hadn't he accompanied Victoria to similar events before? He used to eagerly drink for her, but now it was framed as being victimized. Victoria, do you realize what you're saying? I honestly haven't done anything. I tried to explain, but Victoria just sneered. She helped Ethan into her red Ferrari, speaking gently to him. It's okay. I'll take you home. Her attitude towards me was like I was a stranger. Victoria. I tried to stop her, but she didn't even glance at me, speeding away in the Ferrari. From the passenger seat, Ethan Vance rolled down the window and gave me a glaring, triumphant smile. Victoria didn't come home that night. She only returned late the next night. I had been waiting for her in the living room. She seemed surprised, but couldn't avoid me. Why aren't you asleep yet? She asked. I heard you went to Daniel's company and resigned on Ethan's behalf. She paused, then gave a sarcastic smile. Of course. All those friends of yours report straight to you. That's right, I did. Ethan couldn't continue being tormented there. Ignoring her sarcasm, I continued. And you had someone register a new company, with Ethan in charge, specifically to work for you, is that correct? Victoria threw her coat on the floor, growing more agitated. Who keeps telling you everything? Who's the real boss here? I replied coldly. Have you forgotten? I own half the shares in your company. That stopped her outburst cold. Victoria wanted to do brand management, but her reputation and ability weren't enough to get clients externally. She relied on work partitioned out by the Ashton and Clark families. The Ashtons were willing to let her play around with this segment specifically because my half-ownership meant I was backing it. Can you explain this? What exactly are you doing? Are you keeping him? Don't put it so crudely, I just feel sorry for him. He studied hard for 10 years to get into a top university, and now his abilities are questioned just because he's good-looking. What's wrong with wanting to work hard and establish himself in this city? I countered. There are countless hard-working students from poor backgrounds. Why haven't I seen you pitying them? When have I seen you do any actual charity work? If Ethan Vance didn't have that handsome face, would you be showing him such favor, defending him like this? These words left her standing there, speechless for a long time. Her tone softened, laced with grievance and resentment. I know you're successful. Everyone says I married a good man. But it puts a lot of pressure on me. If I don't go along with you, my family and friends say I'm being difficult, that it's my fault, that I need to reflect. It's exhausting, don't you know Ethan isn't like that. He's willing to always be there for me. He agrees with everything I want. I nodded. An heiress who buys him clothes worth thousands and sets up a company for him? Of course he'd agree with everything she wants. Pressure? She was an airhead and I was willing to support her. She wanted a career, I helped set it up. And now that was her pressure? In reality, it was just because I insisted Ethan resign. And now she'd brought him back right under my nose anyway. Then let's get a divorce. Cheating is cheating. Don't try to romanticize it. I lowered my gaze and said it without any emotion. Victoria's face turned pale instantly. Does it have to come to this? We just had an argument. You want a divorce over this? Our relationship spans over 10 years. How did it come to divorce? We've only been married a year just because of Ethan, because I didn't do what you wanted. So she did remember our decade-plus history. I stood up and showed her my phone. It was a photo Ethan had sent me last night. Credit to him for managing the long-armed selfie. It showed Victoria and Ethan lying in bed. Victoria seemed asleep, her head pillowed on Ethan's arm. Last night I kept calling you until you turned off your phone. Honestly, I was just worried about you. But you were sleeping beside him. Have you forgotten our wedding vows? To never betray each other so. Let's get divorced. Victoria's lips trembled slightly. Impossible. I won't divorce you. Let me explain. Nothing actually happened last night, really. I just had a little too much to drink. I was exhausted, and I fell asleep at Ethan's place. It's you I love. Sincere. When I told both sets of parents about the divorce, everyone objected. Shamefully, our wedding had been held up as a model romance. Suitable families, Victoria claiming a crush since middle school. Me liking her cute, lively personality, it was hailed as the marriage of the century. Mr. Reginald Ashton was furious. Victoria and the Clark family had several major joint projects, some just starting. So he directly intervened and drove Ethan Vance away. Victoria also pleaded desperately with me not to leave, even stopped going to her office, following me around constantly. Or she'd have Mrs. Gable cook elaborate meals of my favorite dishes and bring them to me personally. But the crack was there. There was no going back. I suggested a trial separation, but she rejected it, constantly declaring her feelings for me. But I noticed her staring blankly at her phone from time to time. Even though she claimed she'd cut off all contact with Ethan, I no longer believed her. There was no trust left between us. Ethan kept begging Victoria to meet him just once. Victoria told me she wouldn't see him again. One day, it started raining. Mrs. Gable came over. There's a man standing outside the villa. He won't answer when I ask him anything. Before I could react, Victoria rushed to the balcony. From behind her, I saw him, Ethan Vance, standing in the rain, already soaked through. And the rain was getting heavier. I was about to call security to remove him, but Victoria stopped me. Ignore him. He'll leave on his own eventually. She went back to the sofa, fiddling with her phone, clearly distracted. I just watched her without speaking. An hour passed. Victoria couldn't stand it anymore. She stood up. I'll go yell at him to leave. She hurried out frantically, not even grabbing an umbrella. I stood on the balcony and watched Victoria run to him. They grabbed each other, arguing loudly. Victoria, I really love you. I'm younger than you, I don't have money, but is it wrong for me to love someone? I won't leave. I'll go crazy if I don't see you. Do you know how much I miss you? If you're ignoring me, why did you come out here? They struggled like wild animals, pulling back and forth, but finally they embraced and then kissed. A deep kiss in the rain. Truly a pair of star-crossed lovers. Standing on the balcony, I raised my phone and calmly recorded their tender moment. Then I instructed Mrs. Gable to pack all of Victoria's belongings and throw them out of the house. This villa was the marital home I'd specifically bought. There was no reason for Victoria to ever enter it again. That day, Victoria and Ethan left together. Afterwards, however, she called me frantically, still refusing the divorce. I had the divorce papers drawn up. My lawyer delivered them, stating a deadline. If Victoria didn't sign, I would file for divorce. In the agreement, I decisively reclaimed all my separate property and the vast majority of our marital assets. Victoria could only take the dowry items from the Ashton family. I knew it wouldn't go to court. That would cause a huge scandal, ruining the reputations of both the Ashton and Clark families. Unable to get into the house, Victoria started ambushing me at the office. Honey, she grabbed me anxiously. Please let me explain, okay? At first, I really just wanted him to leave quickly. Didn't want him causing a scene at home. Later, I don't know what happened. I must have lost my mind. I admit it because Ethan is handsome and obedient. I was tempted. He seemed naive, which felt new, so I indulged him. And his sob story made me pity him. She held on to me, speaking quickly, afraid I wouldn't listen. She said she'd do anything, just not divorce. She even brought up her parents, saying the Ashtons could vouch for her. If I forgave her, she promised she would settle down and live a proper life with me. I cut off her rambling. I said Victoria Ashton is not allowed here. Who let her in? Do you want to lose your job? I glared at my secretary, who immediately mumbled apologies. Victoria wouldn't change. She kept wavering, swayed by Ethan's heartfelt performances. She had chances to save our marriage. Like when I made Ethan resign, like when her father drove Ethan away. But Victoria couldn't let go. She stayed in contact with him. She was unfaithful to me, unfaithful to our marriage. The lawyer informed you of the final deadline for signing. If you don't, I will file suit. I mean what I say. You have 5 minutes to leave now, otherwise I'll call security. Before the deadline I set, my lawyer informed me Victoria had agreed to sign. Victoria arrived wrapped in a large coat, her eyes filled with exhaustion and confusion. Sincere, let's get divorced. I nodded, ready to sign. Sincere, she started, then hesitated. I don't want to divorce, but... I looked at her calmly, my voice devoid of emotion. I know why. You're pregnant. With Ethan's child. Her mouth fell open. She was speechless for a long time. Wisely, she didn't ask how I knew. Finally, she picked up the pen and signed the divorce agreement. I never thought this would be how we ended. Her eyes reddened. The sadness in that moment seemed genuine. You kept calling Ethan's ex-fiancée a shrew. Did you ever really understand their past? I couldn't resist reminding her. Victoria hadn't immediately chosen abortion. I guessed Ethan, upon learning, treated it like a treasure, persuading her in every way to keep the baby. She paused. I know. They'd been together since high school, but Ethan said he only felt gratitude towards her, not love. He said she forced him into the engagement. He feels differently about me than he does about her. Hearing her certainty, I had nothing more to say. Whatever. I'd done all I could. Let it end here. But Victoria called out as I turned to leave, Sincere, I regret it. I still love you. She started crying behind me. I didn't look back. Love, coming from her lips now, felt cheap. The Ashton family naturally wouldn't approve of Victoria marrying the penniless Ethan Vance, but that's how relationships sometimes are. The more others object, the more determined the couple becomes. Reginald Ashton even threatened to send Victoria abroad and roared about making Ethan Vance disappear. Victoria resisted fiercely, running off with Ethan to get a marriage certificate. For this, her father cut off her financial support. Amidst all the turmoil, I tried to keep a low profile, avoiding any public comments to prevent affecting the Clark family stock price. Sometime later, Victoria suddenly came looking for me. Even with makeup, her exhaustion and the dark circles under her eyes were visible. She stood before me timidly, sincere, completely different from the bright, flamboyant woman she used to be. I said coldly, "Don't call me that." Tears fell from her eyes. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Ethan Vance tricked me. He was just after my money. He's still entangled with his ex-fiancée Chloe Miller. They never really broke up. And she's pregnant too. I said nothing. This part was unexpected, yet also predictable. Victoria had been sure the Ashtons wouldn't abandon her, so she impulsively married him, never expecting the sham relationship to unravel so quickly. Ethan and Chloe Miller had a long history. Their connection ran deep. It wasn't just about her supporting him through school. Otherwise, Ethan wouldn't have begged Victoria to reconcile back then. Besides, I knew Ethan had never really split from Chloe. I had even tried to warn Victoria about it. Victoria wept uncontrollably. He just wanted my money. He even wanted me to launch his entertainment career. I've scheduled the abortion. I want a divorce, but he refuses unless I pay him a huge sum of money. Mom and Dad aren't talking to me, and they've cut off my allowance. You're the only one I can turn to. When we were children, Victoria would run to me whenever she had a problem. People used to tease her, calling her my little shadow, my little wife. Later, we really did get married. But that wasn't the end of the story. I was possessed. I truly shouldn't have separated from you. Can we start over? I'm sorry, Sincere. I'm so sorry. Can I pursue you again?" She grabbed my hand tightly. I pulled it away. "Impossible." I turned and walked away. She stumbled after me. "How can you be so cruel? I've loved you for over 10 years. How can you be so heartless, not even give me a chance? I'm determined to win you back. Will you give me that chance?" I stopped and questioned her sharply. "Victoria, have you no self-respect left? You were the one who betrayed the relationship. You were the one who cheated. You want to start over? Dream on," she sobbed. "But I heard you're collaborating even more with my family now. Isn't that because you still—" I laughed. "I'm a businessman. The Ashtons feel indebted to me and are willing to offer favorable terms. Why wouldn't I accept? As for you, you're merely an outcast from the Ashton family now. Originally, with my backing, Victoria might have secured some shares and assets from the Ashtons. Now, she was completely excluded from the line of inheritance. The Ashton family was large, with many half-siblings. Whether in career or marriage, Victoria's future looked bleak. I remained busy with work, letting matters of the heart take their own course. Victoria eventually got divorced with her father's help. After 2 failed marriages, emerging battered and bruised emotionally, the once flamboyant and willful girl became silent and withdrawn, and was finally sent abroad by the Ashton family. As for Ethan Vance, I heard he latched on to another wealthy woman, a female tycoon, and actually entered the entertainment industry. But is the world of fame and fortune so easy to navigate? Before he could even make a name for himself, he was blacklisted. Whether he offended the tycoon or the Ashtons intervened, nobody knows. All that uproar has nothing to do with me anymore.